So guys, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at which of the all-in-one 360 cameras is the best for creating virtual tours in 2025. I've created a few of these videos in the past, but it's been a while, so there've been some new cameras, new updates, so we're going to see which one of the kind of consumer level, under $1,000, pounds, euros, is going to be the best for creating quick, high quality, decent virtual tours for either real estate, construction, anything that you could use virtual tours for. There are a few things to consider when choosing a camera for virtual tours. Certainly one is the image quality. How good are the images? How large are the images? Can you zoom in and see details? Because that is pretty important, especially for construction and other kinds of uses that are not just real estate based. If you are shooting for real estate, you want the images to look attractive. You don't want any really bright areas where the windows are. And you want to be able to show off the space in the best quality possible. And we're also going to think about ease of use and workflow, because if the workflow is really complicated, the longer it takes to make your tours, the less profitable they are and the less useful they are. I'm going to be looking at three in this video: the Ricoh Theta X, the Insta360 X5, and the Qoocam 3 Ultra. I believe that these are the three to choose from right now. If you wanted anything else, you would need to spend quite a lot more. And I'm actually going to show you a comparison with a much more expensive camera, Galwal 3D LiDAR camera, which I also made a video on not too long ago, and that is several £1,000s more expensive. Let's take a look at each individual camera first, the specs, what kind of images it can shoot, and just really what the quality looks like and the workflow as well. So I'll start with the Ricoh Theta X. This is the oldest of the three cameras we're going to be looking at. However, it still packs quite a punch. It's still a really popular camera for virtual tours. In fact, in the construction industry, it's considered pretty standard now to use this camera, because it really does focus on photos and photography as its main use. It can also shoot videos, but nobody really uses it for that. The reason it's quite popular is because it can shoot 60 megapixel photos, which is pretty high resolution, means you can capture quite a lot of detail. And it can also create HDR photos in a single shot. You just have to select that in the menu, and the HDR is applied automatically. It's very quick, very easy, and you can even do it while moving. There is a moving HDR option as well. It's also pretty light and compact, pretty slim, fits on pretty much any tripod, or you can even put it on a helmet. And if you wanted to capture a space, then you'd be able to do that very quickly and easily. It also had an update around about a year ago now, where it can shoot DNG raw images, and you can take those, go in and edit them, and you can get a lot better quality out of your photos. So the photos look a lot more attractive than they did before. That was quite an impressive update for this aging camera. So taking a look at the kind of quality we can get, I mean, in all of these examples, I shot in exactly the same place and the same time, just to give a fair comparison. Now, this is just where I live. This is just my flat, but I actually chose this because it's quite a difficult place to shoot virtual tours, because it has so many windows. The difference from light and dark is quite a lot. So this would be a challenge for any virtual tour camera, including even a DSLR. So this is kind of the hardest we could. In these images, you'll notice there is a little bit of a blurred area. Now, that is not the camera, it's actually my fault. I've actually scratched the lens on this camera slightly, so there is a little kind of blurred area. That is nothing to do with the camera itself. Looking at the quality of the images, in the HDR mode, it does a decent job, but I think it's a little bland. Even though this HDR is applied automatically, it's not the best quality of what we're going to see compared to the others. It is probably the quickest way of creating and shooting your virtual tours, because it's just a single shot. And it's actually the lowest resolution of all the cameras that I'm going to show you. So next up, we're going to look at the Insta360 X5, which is the newest of all of these cameras. The X5 can shoot 72 megapixel images, and there's actually quite a range of photo options, so which can be a little confusing. The camera also features half-inch sensors, which is a slight upgrade compared to a lot of other 360 cameras, which have smaller sensors. The Insta360 X5 also has an HDR photo mode, which you just need to go into that menu and make sure it's turned on. You can also shoot HDR raw images, which is also a great addition. I think this is probably the best way of capturing the best quality. And it also has this format called Pure Shot. Now, that is essentially also raw, but when you use the Insta360 Studio, all of the editing will be done for you. The program will try and guess or try and do its best to add to improve the image as much as it can. Whereas if you were to select just RAW, you would have to go and do that editing yourself, so the workflow will be a lot longer. Personally, I find the HDR plus Pure Shot to be the best option in terms of quality versus the time it takes. Unless you are really, really good and you know your stuff about editing raw images, most of the time it's just gonna take too long and you may not get as good a quality as if you let the program do it by itself. So taking a look at the images shot with the X5, I think they're actually pretty decent for an all-in-one 360 camera that's actually cheaper than the Theta X. I think it does a better job. I did shoot with the different modes here, with the Pure Shot mode, Pure Shot and RAW, just HDR on its own, so you can kind of determine here which one you think looks best. The Insta360 X5 also has an AEB mode, which should technically be the best, because that would allow you to shoot up to 9 different images and combine them all together. That should really sort out any difference between light and dark. It should give you the best color, the best detail. However, this mode is limited to 18 megapixels in the camera, so I don't think that is best for virtual tours. Really, we need higher resolution than that if we're going to be able to zoom in and keep the details looking crisp, which is important for a lot of different uses when creating virtual tours. Insta360 have told me that they're going to update the camera to allow that mode to have 72 megapixel resolution, but we don't know when that's going to happen. Right, last but not least is the Qoocam 3 Ultra, which can shoot the highest resolution photos of the 3 all-in-one cameras we're looking at, and that's with 92 megapixel resolution. It also features the largest sensors of these 3 cameras. So in terms of hardware, on paper it seems like it would be the best option. However, when I'm shooting with this camera, I do find it to struggle quite a lot in, again, this difference between light and dark, in capturing details outside when it's very bright. That is really, really important, especially for real estate. If you shoot real estate virtual tours and the windows are kind of really, really light and you can't see outside, it just shows that it's poor quality. In terms of detail, it's pretty good because you can zoom in quite a lot and retain the details because of that 96 megapixel resolution, but it seems to be a little noisy. There's quite a lot of noise in these photos, so again, this camera can shoot raw images, it can shoot automatic HDR images, just like the others. The raw images do take a lot of processing, so I think if you were really, really good and you had experience of editing raw images, you may be able to get some really, really good looking ones out of this camera, but it will take a lot of time. And with these cameras, we're really trying to go with speed, efficiency, as well as quality. The automatic HDR mode in this camera, I don't think is as good as the Insta360 X5. That's a quick look at all 3 cameras. We're going to be doing some side-by-side comparisons so you can really see the difference between them. But just a quick word on the workflow. For me, the workflow for these cameras are all relatively easy, but overall, I think the X5 is the easiest workflow, just because all you need to do is download the Insta360 Studio. With the Insta360 X5, all you really need to do is connect the camera to your laptop, open the Insta360 Studio, drag them in, and like I said, most of the processing will be done for you. The editing will be done for you with this Pure Shot mode, Pure Shot HDR, which I think is the best option, and then you just export and it's ready to upload straight away. Obviously, if you wanted to edit the raw files themselves, that takes longer, but even so, with the Theta X, it requires a couple of programs, a couple of random programs, which don't always work that well, and for me, the Qoocam is the worst. The Qoocam Studio often crashes and I find it's quite laggy and just takes a long time. So for me, when I was processing all of the photos you saw, the X5 was the easiest to get the job done. So if you're still not sure, we can just take a look at some side-by-side comparisons quite quickly, or I'll just go in between the photos shot with each one and you'll see the difference in quality. Yeah, like I said, I think pretty much what I've said already. The probably best quality overall was the X5 at the 72 megapixel automatically edited HDR, so using that Pure Shot mode. I think the colors are really good, the sharpness is good, you can see details even if you zoom in small lettering, you can still see everything. Probably next up, the Qoocam with its 96 megapixel, the sharpness is good, it's just the color isn't right, it's really bland. But like I said, if you were to edit those raw files more, I mean, expertly than I can, I'm not a color editor, but then again, nor are most of the people who are going to be creating virtual tours. We are looking for something that just does it without having to learn loads of different programs and loads of different skills. So for just in terms of efficiency versus quality, I think the X5 HDR Pure Shot mode is the best. The easiest photos to shoot out of all of these is actually with the Theta X and its auto HDR mode, because all of the processing is done inside the camera. You literally just have to grab, drag it and drop, and you'll be able to use them straight away, which is why I think it's particularly popular in the construction industry, because there is literally nothing else required. So yeah, the quality isn't as good, the colors aren't as good, but just for really quick virtual tours, really quick 360 photos that are decent quality, yeah, that is the quickest one, but I would say not the highest quality. Now, I mentioned I was going to show you some shots with a much more expensive camera. This is a Galois 3D LiDAR camera. This is about, I think, $5,000 or something like that. So obviously way more expensive, like 5-6 times more expensive than any of these cameras. Just to compare of what kind of difference in quality it is. With this kind of camera, this is actually a single lens camera featuring a micro 4/3 lens, which is much larger than any of the lenses in the 3 cameras I've shown you. It also can shoot 135 megapixel images, so again, larger than anything here. And you can see the difference in quality immediately. This is again done all in the camera, stitching done in the camera, HDR processing, so no editing required. With this kind of huge, large camera system, it also comes with automatic virtual tour creation. It has LiDAR, which is basically a laser which scans the room. So this is really advanced. This is where if you were really going to get serious about virtual tours and creating 3D models, dollhouse effects, and that's what you're paying for when you're paying 5 times, 6 times, 7 times as much. But if you were just getting started and if you were just wanting to shoot fairly simple virtual tours for smaller spaces, then something like the X5 or the Theta X or the Qoocam Ultra is going to be good enough to start. But for me right now, I would probably recommend the X5 in terms of quality versus efficiency. If you wanted to practice with editing RAW, then I think maybe the Qoocam Ultra, when you edit the RAW files really well, if you want to take the time to do that, maybe that's going to be the best quality, but will take a lot longer, and the workflow is a bit frustrating. So yeah, that's it guys. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions about these cameras or creating virtual tours or how to use them, then feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you. That's it for now guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.